This pregnant woman is desperately trying to sell cosmetics to make ends meet. Her name is Mi Yeon. Her husband, Ming Ho, is a cosmetic researcher. One day, Ming Ho saw that the patent for his invention had been stolen by a big company, so he went to the head of the company, but they refused to admit it because they had no proof. The man who stole the patent is the company's son-in-law, Jae Myung. His position in the family was not high. When the old president found out, he was furious. He told him to settle the matter as soon as possible. Ming Ho approached In Chul, a reporter, to get his patent back. He wants In Chul to help him expose the company. After learning that Ming Ho had contacted the reporter, Jae Myung had a murderous intent. He sent someone to tamper with Ming Ho's car. Ming Ho was hospitalized in a car accident. At that time, Jae Myung's wife, Yoon Ki, suddenly had severe stomach pains. She might be in labor soon. Inside the hospital, because of Ming Ho's accident, Mi Yeon, who was pregnant, was suffering from a shock and was in preterm labor, so both women were pushed into the labor room at the same time, and they both gave birth to boys. Because they were both born prematurely, both babies were placed in a care unit. That's when the old lady came to the hospital. She used her power to put pressure on the hospital. She told them to save her grandson. Jae Myung looked at the newborn baby with mixed feelings. It turns out that the child is not his own. Before he got married, the old lady made him sign an agreement. He can't have his own child in the future. On the other hand, Mi Yeon's husband was killed in a car accident. He may never wake up again. The news was too cruel for Mi Yeon. In Chul came to the hospital and told Mi Yeon about the theft of the company's patent. It made her wonder about the cause of her husband's death. That day, the tycoon's baby suddenly stopped breathing. Young-mi, the doctor in charge, was drunk on a personal matter. The nurse called her but couldn't get through. By the time she got to the hospital, it was too late. The baby had stopped breathing. In desperation, she called the father to ask him what to do. The father told her to swap the baby with another one. The cruel Young-mi switched the two newborns. A nurse came in and saw it. Because Young-mi is the daughter of the hospital's director, she has a certain position in the hospital. The nurse was scared. Young-mi told her to forget about it, and promised the nurse a large sum of money, so she could take her sick daughter to the US for treatment. In order to save her daughter, the nurse agreed to Young-mi's terms. When Mi Yeon heard the news of her son's death, she cried and went to check on him, but the nurse and Young-mi stopped her. Looking at her son's death certificate, Mi Yeon suddenly remembered what happened last night when she met Young-mi. She smelled of alcohol, and she was her son's doctor. This made Mi Yeon suspicious. She approached the nurse and asked when her son's condition began to deteriorate. The nurse stammered and told her that it started last night at around 10 o'clock. To find out the truth, Mi Yeon went to Young-mi's office and asked the same question, but she got a completely different answer. Young-mi told her that her son's condition began to deteriorate at 6 o'clock in the morning. This made Mi Yeon even more suspicious. She asked Young-mi if you had been drinking yesterday. Why did you come back from outside in a panic? But Young-mi refused to admit it. She said she was in the hospital the whole time, because in her opinion, there's nothing she can do about this powerless person. But she underestimated Mi Yeon. She told the doctor she wanted an autopsy. Mi Yeon found In Chul. She told him that her son's death was a medical malpractice. In Chul was one of her husband's juniors. Mi Yeon trusted him. She told In Chul her son's doctor came home drunk last night. In Chul was surprised and asked what the doctor's name was. Hearing the word Young-mi, In Chul panicked, because he was the one who brought the drunken Young-mi to the hospital last night. In Chul had a crush on Young-mi since he was a student. That's why he didn't say anything about it. Seeing In Chul and Mi Yeon together, Young-mi went to his father to discuss what to do. At that moment, In Chul came to the office door. He heard Young-mi talking about the child's transfer. In Chul was shocked. After all, the child was his senior's. He didn't know what to do. Young-mi approached In Chul. He hoped that he could hide it for him. However, In Chul threatened to force Young-mi to marry him. Young-mi is forced to agree to his terms. Young-mi asked In Chul to help her convince Mi Yeon to stop investigating the death of her child, because if an autopsy is done, the truth will be exposed. In Chul told Mi Yeon that it was too cruel to stab a child that young. Finally, Mi Yeon agreed. Mi Yeon took the child in her arms and was about to send him away. At that moment, the rich man's grandson was discharged from the hospital. Yoon Ki looked at Mi Yeon's poor back and sighed at her misfortune. The fates of the two women are closely intertwined. The old president looked at his grandson and loved him. He talked about how he was going to be the heir to the company. When he heard that, Jae Myung's face turned pale. The reason he joined the family was to become the heir. That day, Mi Yeon's husband, Ming Ho, woke up suddenly. When he woke up, Ming Ho asked his wife if the baby was a son or a daughter. At that moment, Mi Yeon couldn't tell her husband about her son's death. She quickly changed the subject and asked her husband why he had a car accident. He told her that someone from the cosmetic company was behind the accident. Mi Yeon went to the police station. She hoped that the police would find the person who damaged her husband's car. The police said they would contact them after the investigation. Mi Yeon finds In Chul and hopes that he will expose the theft of the patent by the cosmetics company as soon as possible. Because Ming Ho gave all the evidence to In Chul before the accident, In Chul made up an excuse to pass it off. But what Mi Yeon doesn't know is that the person he trusted the most has already betrayed her. Yeongmi told Inchul that his family and the cosmetics company were friends. He told him to stay out of it. Inchul agreed to marry Yeongmi without hesitation. When Jae Myung found out that Mi Yeon had called the police, he told his secretary to kill Ming Ho. Then a man in black came to Ming Ho's hospital room. He pulled out his oxygen mask. Slowly, Ming Ho stopped breathing. Mi Yeon couldn't believe it when he got the news. In the same hospital, Mi Yeon lost her baby. Her husband was getting better, but he died suddenly. It was too cruel for her. On the day of her husband's funeral, Mi Yeon came to the cosmetic company in her mourning clothes. She found out that the woman who gave birth at the same time as her was the owner of the company. Mi Yeon told her that her husband was killed by this company. Yoon Ki asked her to produce evidence. Mi Yeon was kicked out and walked down the street alone. She saw the company selling her husband's product. She was so angry that she knocked over all the products. Then she was arrested at the police station. When the old lady found out that someone was causing trouble at the company, she yelled at her son-in-law. She told him to take care of the matter as soon as possible. In order to eliminate the problem, the cosmetics company sued Mi Yeon for embezzlement. Mi Yeon told Inchul that the money was a bank loan, not public money, but the Zaibatsu had already blocked all her options. Inchul told Mi Yeon that the only way to reduce her sentence was to make her plead guilty. Mi Yeon, of course, wouldn't just plead guilty. In court, Mi Yeon was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Not only did she have to endure the bullying of her fellow inmates, even her aunt, who came to visit, was sent away by the bad guys. Mi Yeon had no contact with the outside world. 2 years later, Mi Yeon was released. She found out that Inchul had married Yeongmi and had a child. Mi Yeon realized that Inchul had betrayed her. She asked Inchul why he did it. Then Inchul showed his true colors. He told Mi Yeon not to come to him again. Mi Yeon asked him to return the information his husband gave him, but Inchul denied that he didn't have it. He reminded her to keep her mouth shut if she didn't want to go back to jail. Disheartened, Mi Yeon thought of committing suicide. She took a step into the cold water of the lake. Then a picture of her husband suddenly appeared in her mind. It made her give up the idea of suicide. She was determined to find out the truth and avenge her husband's death. When Mi Yeon returned home, she realized that her place was on fire. Her roommate Kim Mi-ae died in the fire. She was so badly burned that she couldn't recognize her face. The police asked Mi Yeon to identify the body. They asked her if this was her roommate, Mi Yeon. Mi Yeon realized that the police had made a mistake. The ID they found was her own. Seeing the tattoos on the body, Mi Yeon confirmed that the body was Kim Mi-ae. She didn't tell the police the truth. That's how it was reported in the news that Mi Yeon died in a fire. Inchul and Jae Myung both thought Mi Yeon was dead. However, the truth is that Kim Mi-ae left her wallet inside Mi Yeon's coat when she borrowed her own clothes earlier. Kim Mi-ae told Mi Yeon before that her long-lost rich mom had found her. She was going to Canada to recognize her family, so Mi Yeon successfully changed her identity into Kim Mi-ae. In order to take revenge, she secretly abducted Yeongmi's eldest daughter and flew to Canada. Yeongmi, who had just given birth to her second daughter, was devastated by the news of her eldest daughter's disappearance. 30 years have passed. Mi Yeon returned to Korea with her daughter. Yeongmi's daughter has grown up. Her name is Yoo-jin. She had been trained by Mi Yeon to be a tool for revenge. This man's name is Hae-jun. He was originally Mi Yeon's son, but he was transferred to Jae Myung's family. This woman's name is Sai-lo. She's the second daughter of Inchul and Yeongmi, and Yoo-jin's biological sister. Of course, neither of them knew the other's identity. It was the day Hae-jun and Sai-lo got engaged. In order to destroy the relationship between the two families, Mi Yeon was going to break up the engagement. She prepared everything in advance. The president was injured. Inchul had a car accident because the brakes failed. Both of them were hospitalized. This caused the engagement ceremony to be postponed. In order to find out the identity of the enemy, Mi Yeon sent someone to do a detailed investigation. She found out that Jae Myung's son, Hae-jun, had a short-lived relationship 3 years ago. However, Mi Yeon didn't know that Yoo-jin was Hae-jun's girlfriend at that time. Yoo-jin had returned home for a short time. She met Hae-jun on the train. Yoo-jin hid this from her mother. In order to destroy Hae-jun and Sai-lo's relationship, Yoo-jin created a chance encounter. Hae-jun was shocked when he saw her. This person is clearly his girlfriend from 3 years ago, but Yoo-jin told him that he had the wrong person. On the other hand, Yeongmi blames herself for losing her daughter. This has caused a deep shadow in the heart of his youngest daughter, Sai-lo. After 30 years, Mi Yeon came to the company again, but this time, she came as an investor. 30 years later, they didn't recognize Mi Yeon. Then Yoo-jin succeeded in joining the company. In order to make her enemies remember what happened 30 years ago, Mi Yeon sent 2 newborn bracelets to Yeongmi, but Yeongmi had already forgotten what happened 30 years ago. She doesn't seem to care. Jae Myung also received a threatening letter. It says, "I know what you did 30 years ago." Apparently, Jae Myung didn't care either. Mi Yeon had already guessed that these people wouldn't remember the past, and this is just the beginning. She's going to reveal all the bad things these bad people did 30 years ago. Jae Myung's company was reported in the media for stealing patents. Jae Myung has been stealing patents from small businesses for years. Because of his company's status, no one dared to come forward. Mi Yeon is also behind this report. The owner of the stolen patents held up a big sign in front of the cosmetics company. Jae Myung was furious at the news. Because he had just gotten gotten an investment, but he got such a bad press. Yoo-jin came to negotiate with the protesters. The security guards were asked to arrest the protesters. The protesters took Yoo-jin hostage. Then Hae-jun ran over and demanded to be the hostage. At that moment, the protester suddenly fell down. Yoo-jin was about to fall. Hae-jun jumped in and grabbed her. This accident put Jae Myung's company on the news. The public opinion turned positive. Yoo-jin became a credit to the company this time. On this day, Yeonmi received another delivery. Inside was a pink dress and a pair of princess shoes. Because Mi Yeon had witnessed Yeonmi losing her mind while holding someone else's baby, the reason for sending her these was to stimulate her. It was only after looking at these things that the two of them realized what was going on. They wondered if it could be related to the transfer of the child 30 years ago. Yeonmi thought that besides the two of them, only the nurse knew about it. The next day, Yeonmi went to the nursing home. It turned out that the nurse had dementia. She was under Yeonmi's control for a long time. From the nurse's reaction, Yeonmi knew that the nurse didn't do it. This made the two of them even more scared. Because Yoo-jin blocked the negative news for the company, she was invited to the president's house. Hae-jun took the opportunity to ask Yoo-jin why she pretended not to recognize her. That's when Sai-lo came in and saw it. Sai-lo called Yoo-jin to the door and slapped her in the face. Yoo-jin was about to fight back, but Hae-jun stopped her. Her purpose this time was clear. She wanted to destroy Hae-jun and Sai-lo's relationship. At the party, Mi Yeon overheard Yeonmi asking the police officer if she had a week-old child abroad. After hearing this, Mi Yeon sent his secretary to find out. The police officer told Yeonmi, there are only 3 people on the list of those who left the country with babies who haven't been identified, and all 3 went to Canada. Upon learning that there was a possibility that her mother would find her real sister, the expression on her sister Sai-lo's face was intriguing. Mi Yeon knew that if the police found out the identities of the 3 men, she would be exposed for abducting Yeonmi's daughter. She instructed her secretary to send him to meet this officer. At the party, Yoo-jin found out that Hae-jun didn't show up because he had a car accident on his way to see her. It made her a little shaky, but she had to hide her feelings in order to avenge her mother's death. That day, Yoo-jin learned that Hae-jun and Sai-lo's wedding date had been set. She deliberately approached Hae-jun. She confessed that she was his girlfriend back then. Hae-jun was a bit shocked, but he wasn't swayed by it. That day, Jae Myung received an anonymous phone call. He told him to come to the park tomorrow. Otherwise, his true colors would be revealed to the public. Incheol received a call from this person at the same time. At the same time, Mi Yeon found out the whereabouts of the nurse. The secretary told her that the nurse is now in a nursing home sponsored by Yeonmi. At the nursing home, the nurse thought about what Yeonmi had said. The nurse has been pretending to be demented in order to survive. The next day in the park, Jae Myung and Incheol met. They had their own agenda, but they didn't dare to reveal it. They pretended that nothing happened, because the caller never showed up. Back at the office, they still suspect each other. Incheol suddenly realized that Yoo-jin came back from Canada. He found Yoo-jin and told her that his lost daughter was abducted to Canada. She must be about the same age as Yoo-jin. When he found out that Incheol had gone to see Yoo-jin in private, Mi Yeon was panicked. She rushed to the cafe where they met. Because the identity of mother and daughter was not announced to the public, the two of them simply greeted each other. Yoo-jin then left. Because of the anonymous phone call, Jae Myung and Incheol finally remembered what happened 30 years ago. They're going to work together to find out who's behind this. Mi Yeon's secretary bribed the police with money to stop looking for Yeonmi's daughter. Just give Yeonmi false information in order to take back her husband's former farm. Mi Yeon approached Jae Myung. She wanted to invest in a park on the land. Jae Myung agreed without hesitation. On this day, Yoo-jin intentionally went in and out of Hae-jun's restaurant with a punk. He thought that this punk was known as a womanizer. Then, he staged a scene where he saved a girl's life. All of this was planned by Yoo-jin. Then he dragged Yoo-jin away. Yoo-jin told him to stay out of his life since he's getting married. Sai-lo saw this. Sai-lo deliberately called Hae-jun to ask him about it, but Hae-jun didn't talk about it. This instantly aroused Sai-lo's jealousy. The next day, Mi Yeon went to the farm. This was the place where she and her husband worked so hard. After 30 years, she came back here again. She felt a strange sadness in her heart. Seeing Hae-jun at work, it was like seeing her husband. Mi Yeon didn't understand why she could always see her husband's shadow in Hae-jun. However, Mi Yeon's investment behavior. Hae-jun was skeptical. He thought that no one would invest such a large sum of money in a barren land for no reason. Moreover, his father was a suspicious man, but he trusted Mi Yeon unconditionally. That made him even more skeptical. In order to get close to the nurse, Mi Yeon disguised himself as a patient and entered the nursing home. At the nursing home, Mi Yeon also arranged for someone to keep an eye on him. Here Mi Yeon managed to meet the nurse. On the other hand, at the family gathering of the two families, Hae-jun proposed to break off the engagement. He admitted that he likes Yoo-jin. Jae Myung slapped his son on the spot. Sai-lo fainted because he couldn't take the excitement. When she woke up, Silo found Yujin's house. She made a scene at Yujin's house. In order to get her son to change his mind, Yoon-ki went to the witch and asked her to find a way to make Yujin leave Hae-jun. But the witch told her that it was your destiny not to have a child. But you got a son for nothing. Yoon-ki told the witch that she gave birth to her son, and wondered if she was wrong. The witch told her that these two are destined to be together. There's no way to break them up. Yoon-ki took out Silo's picture again, but the witch insisted. But Yoon-koi didn't take these words seriously. Yeongmi and Injun tried to persuade Yujin for her daughter's happiness, but Yujin was adamant that she wouldn't leave. Injun has no choice but to send someone to investigate Yujin. Yeongmi came to Hae-jun's house and threatened Yoon-ki. If the marriage of the two children was cancelled, she'll expose the crimes committed by the cosmetics company 30 years ago. But Yoon-ki didn't know anything about it. Yeongmi told Yoon-ki about Jae-myung's theft of the patent. Mi Yeon wanted to take back her husband's farm. Had Jae-myung mortgaged the land under the pretext of an investment guarantee? That day, Mi Yeon found the nurse again, but when she asked about the baby, the nurse had a seizure. She was pulling her hair like crazy. This made Mi Yeon realize that there must be another reason for her son's death. Silo wanted to get back at Yujin, thought she had a phobia of enclosed spaces. On this day, Yeongmi deliberately invited Yujin to the hospital. After Yujin walked into the elevator, Silo deliberately made the elevator stop. Facing such an environment, Yujin became fearful. Her breathing became rapid. She called her brother. Before she could explain the exact location, she fainted. When Mi Yeon found out about Yujin's fainting, he remembered Yeongmi's call that Yujin went to the hospital. Hae-jun rushed to the hospital. The evil Silo locked the door. She called her mom and told her she was out. Mom praised her daughter for doing a good job. You can see that this kind of family is horrible. On the other side, Hae-jun managed to open the elevator door. His brother took Yujin to the hospital. After learning about Silo's bad deed, Injun scolded Yeongmi for not educating her daughter well. If anything happens to her, she'll go to jail. But Yeongmi retorted, your daughter's behavior is completely in line with your nature. Didn't you also do anything for love? These words are like a needle in Injun's heart. On the other hand, Yoon-ki found Jae-myung. He asked him what he did 30 years ago to make Yeongmi threaten him. Jae-myung says that the company has always been clean. After Yujin's checkup, he was fine. Mi Yeon was relieved. After 30 years together, Yujin was not just a tool for revenge in Mi Yeon's heart. She treated her as her own daughter. From her daughter, Mi Yeon learned that the accident was planned by Jae-myung and Yeongmi. Yujin fell asleep peacefully under Mi Yeon's watchful eye, but Hae-jun suddenly arrived. His brother rushed to stop him, saying that your father was also responsible for the accident. How can you face Yujin? Hae-jun went to his father to find out the truth. He asked him why he wanted Yujin to go to the hospital, but his father denied it. He rushed to call Yeongmi to ask him what was going on. Apparently, Jae-myung wasn't involved this time. That morning, Mr. and Mrs. Yeongmi were getting ready to leave the house when they received a call saying she was a murderer. In-chul reassured her that she'd be fine. When they got into the car, they found blood all over the steering wheel. They were shocked at the sight. On the other hand, Silo wanted to win Hae-jun back, so he tried to make love with him. After being rejected by Hae-jun, Silo thought of killing herself. She took a lot of sleeping pills. Luckily, Yeongmi found her in time and took her to the hospital. After waking up, Silo asked Yujin to the rooftop. She tried to make Yujin feel guilty by committing suicide. Yujin tried to save Silo, who was about to jump off the roof. Then Mr. and Mrs. Yeongmi arrived. They're not grateful to Yujin for saving their daughter. They even pushed Yujin into the water. If she finds out later that Yujin is her lost daughter, how will she regret what she did now? Yujin chose to leave Hae-jun under Yeongmi's threat. After she was sent home, her brother found out from Hae-jun that they knew each other 3 years ago. Yujin agreed to leave because he felt sorry for the mother and daughter. He told Yujin to take care of herself before her mother found out about it. Getting Hae-jun to regret the marriage was just the first step of Mi Yeon's plan. Her second plan is for Hae-jun to fall into complete degradation. But Yujin really likes Hae-jun. This is really a cruel thing for Yujin. The next day, Yeongmi came to Yujin's house. He left her with a plane ticket to Paris. She told her to leave Korea immediately. Seeing Yeongmi risking her life for her daughter, Yujin was touched. Mi Yeon also found out from Hae-jun that the person Hae-jun used to date was Yujin. Mi Yeon almost fainted when she heard the news. Yujin is also in danger. Jae-myung and the others tried to get rid of her by accusing her of embezzling money. Apparently, Yujin was prepared for this. She told Jae-myung that if they kicked her out like this, they'll regret it. Mi Yeon finds Yujin and asks her why she didn't tell him about her meeting with Hae-jun 3 years ago. Yujin said she hid it because she was worried about her mom. When Mi Yeon asked Yujin if she was true to Hae-jun, it was obvious that Yujin's eyes flashed with hesitation. She told Mi Yeon that she was only pretending to be sincere. Mi Yeon was afraid that her daughter would be swayed. Tell her that Hae-jun is the son of your father's murderer. At the same time, Yeongmi told her that she switched children 30 years ago, but she turned the truth on its head. She told Hae-jun that the old lady forced her to do it. Of course, Hae-jun doesn't believe it. He's going to call his mother to find out the truth. But Yeongmi took advantage of the situation and said that if you do this, it'll be bad for your mom. Then she threatened to expose the story if Hae-jun didn't marry her daughter. Hae-jun wanted to find out the truth. He got his mother's hair and his father's toothbrush for genetic testing. When Mi Yeon found out, she thought it was suspicious. Because Yoon-ki gave birth on the same day as her, there's no way she could be mistaken. So she sent her brother to look into the matter. On the other hand, Jin is preparing for his final revenge. They have a bold but dangerous plan. Jun broke down and cried when he got the test results. Faced with the sudden change of events, he didn't know what to do. Thinking about what Youngmi said, he thought it was time to make a clean break. That day, Jin came to the bar dressed up, because for him, today was also the last time they would see each other. But what she didn't expect was, Jun broke up with her first, and told her that he didn't have feelings for her. Although Jin didn't understand why Jun suddenly said that, she thought that maybe she would feel less guilty towards him. Jin asked Jun to stay with her one last night. The next day, Jin came home. She sat on the floor alone. The police came to the hotel and arrested Jun for assaulting Jin. So this was Jin's last plan. Jun couldn't understand. Why did Jin do this to him? Because of this scandal, the cosmetics company's stock price plummeted. Consumers are refusing to buy it. Youngmi were afraid that the scandal would affect their own family. They asked Sai Lo to give up her marriage to Jun, but Sai Lo wants to believe that Jun is innocent. For the sake of their daughter's happiness, Youngmi made a deal with Jun. As long as he marries his daughter, she will keep her mouth shut about his life. Although Jun was framed this time, but Jin blamed himself. She and Mi Yeon have a grudge against each other. On the other hand, Inchul found out Mi Yeon's real identity through his investigation. The three of them panicked at the news. Mi Yeon became the biggest suspect for abducting their daughter. Youngmi found Mi Yeon and asked her if she took their daughter. Mi Yeon confessed that she did it. Youngmi couldn't believe it and asked her to provide evidence. At that moment, Mi Yeon was also panicked, because if Youngmi went after her, Jin's identity will be discovered. In order to clear the air, Mi Yeon sent his secretary to ask the police to give Mr. and Mrs. Youngmi a false information. Through the police officer's information, they found the fake daughter in front of them. Through the description of the fake daughter, Mr. and Mrs. Youngmi confirmed that this is their lost daughter. He was going to take her for a genetic test. The secretary gave the fake daughter a toothbrush and hair in advance. When they got the test results, Mr. and Mrs. Youngmi were sobbing uncontrollably. The three of them hugged each other and cried, and so the fake daughter entered Youngmi's home without a hitch, and Mi Yeon was cleared of any wrongdoing. Meanwhile, a woman appeared with Jae Myung's illegitimate son. Jae Myung signed an agreement before the marriage not to have a child of her own, but he still had a bastard child. The woman came to ask Jae Myung to raise the child, and she's getting married. This time, Jae Myung is in a dilemma. If his wife finds out about this, he'll be thrown out of the company. But this woman was no slouch. That day, she dropped her son off at Jae Myung's house and left. When Yoon Ki came home and saw this strange child, she asked what happened. The boy just said his name. Jae Myung rushed home. The child was about to call out for his father when Jae Myung stopped him. It turns out that Jun already knew about his father's illegitimate child. In order to prevent his mother from finding out, Jun lied that the child was his friend's. Because the friend had an accident, he asked himself to take care of him for a while. And Mi Yeon has officially started her revenge. She's going to call a shareholders meeting to oust Jae Myung. She's going to take back everything that belongs to her husband. Jae Myung wanted to stop Mi Yeon. She thought she had it in the bag. But then Mi Yeon showed up at the conference hall with her illegitimate child. The child ran straight to Jae Myung and called out for his father. The conference hall was in an uproar. Yoon Ki fainted at the news. Jae Myung was dismissed from his position as president. When she got home, Yoon Ki made a scene and told Jae Myung to get out of the house. While they were arguing, Jae Myung slapped his wife hard. Furious, Yoon Ki ran away alone. In search of her mother, Jun was hit by a speeding car. Yo Ki held her son, who was covered in blood, and cried out desperately. After resuscitation, Jun is out of danger, but his kidneys are severely damaged, and he may need a kidney transplant. To be on the safe side, Yoon Ki went for a tissue test first. If there's a match, he'll be ready for surgery. Mr. and Mrs. Youngmi were upset at the news, because once the tissue test is done, Jun's life will be revealed, and then Yoon Ki will come to ask for help. The two of them agreed that if Yoon Ki suspected them, they'll put the blame on Jun's grandmother. Inchul is still worried, because there's still one person in the world who knows the truth. That's the nurse. The doctor who got the test results found Yoon Ki. He told her that none of the 6 items matched. He asked her if the child was her own, to make sure her son was her own. Yo Ki took her son's hair for a genetic test. When she got the results, Yoon Ki had mixed feelings. She trembled as she opened the results. The moment she saw the results, she was completely devastated. As expected, Yoon Ki went to Youngmi at once. She asked her if she knew that Jun wasn't her son. It's getting hard to hide the truth. Youngmi reveals the truth and blames Yoon Ki's mother. Yoon Ki is kind but not stupid. She doesn't think Youngmi is the kind of person who would risk her career for someone else. So she sends her secretary to investigate a baby born on the same day 30 years ago. Since Jun's accident, Yoojin doesn't want to hide her feelings anymore. She begged Mi Yeon to give up her revenge. Yoojin said she doesn't want to be her mother's revenge tool anymore. This broke Mi Yeon's heart. Meanwhile, good news came from the hospital. Jun's condition is stable. He may not need a kidney transplant. Yoon Ki was relieved to hear the news. Although she knew Jun was not her own, but she still thought of Jun as her son. On that day, the secretary gave Yoon Ki a list of babies born at the same time. The only child who died in the list was Mi Yeon's. This makes her suspect that Jun is Mi Yeon's son. The nurse was getting worse and was about to tell Mi Yeon what happened 30 years ago, but then Mr. and Mrs. Youngmi broke into the house and took the nurse away. On their way to escape, They ran into Mi Yeon and Yoon Ki, who were on their way. The nurse was taken to the hospital, but her condition is not good. Yoon Ki doesn't understand why Mr. and Mrs. Youngmi are holding the nurse hostage. Mi Yeon told her that maybe the nurse knew something she was hiding. Yoon Ki thinks it might have something to do with her child being switched. Through genetic testing, Yoon Ki confirms that Mi Yeon is her son's real mother. Mi Yeon got a call from her secretary and left the nurse's room. Just as Yoon Ki came in, the nurse suddenly came to her senses. She told him that Youngmi's negligence killed him 30 years ago. Youngmi switched the baby in order to cover it up, and when Mi Yeon came in, the nurse fainted again. That's how Mi Yeon didn't know the truth. Knowing the truth, Yoon Ki invited Youngmi to her home. She strangled Youngmi's neck, but in front of the truth, Youngmi had no remorse, because she knew that Yoon Ki couldn't return Hae-jun to Mi Yeon. What Youngmi didn't realize was that Yoon Ki had secretly recorded their conversation. Because of their parents' relationship, Yoon Ki rejected the marriage between Silo and Hae-jun, but the evil Silo thought that if she couldn't be with Hae-jun, she might as well not wake up, so she took off Hae-jun's oxygen mask. Then Mi Yeon suddenly came in. Silo hurriedly hid in the closet. Mi Yeon saw that the oxygen mask had fallen off. She was about to put it on Hae-jun. Yoo-jin came in and saw her. The daughter misunderstood that her mother was trying to harm Hae-jun. They had a big fight. The nurse died because of Youngmi's excitement. Mi Yeon blamed Youngmi for the nurse's death, so she took back the hospital's previous investment. She wanted to make Youngmi pay for her blood. That day, the court came and seized Youngmi's house. They were told to move out as soon as possible. In the heat of the moment, the two of them talked about swapping children. This was overheard by the fake daughter outside. The fake daughter sold the information to Mi Yeon in order to get more money. Mi Yeon thought that she and Yoon Ki were the only ones in the ICU at that time. She thought that if Hae-jun was really her son, how should she face him? She did so many bad things to get back at him. Then Yoo-jin came in and apologized to his mother, because she already knew that the person who took off Hae-jun's oxygen mask was Silo. This made Mi Yeon even more worried. Mi Yeon was able to confirm that Hae-jun was her son, but she didn't dare to recognize him. She could only visit the hospital secretly. Yoon Ki seems to have realized that Mi Yeon knows the truth. Now the whole truth has finally come out. However, both mothers are reluctant to reveal the truth. Mr. and Mrs. Youngmi, desperate for help, are going to hold Hae-jun hostage to threaten Mi Yeon. They had Hae-jun secretly transferred out. Mi Yeon called to ask Youngmi where she took her son. Youngmi told her to unblock the bank. He told her he'd let Hae-jun go. If she didn't do what she said, she would never see her son again. Mi Yeon had no choice but to agree to her request. She couldn't let Hae-jun know that Mi Yeon was his real mother. But Hae-jun suddenly regained consciousness. Yoo-jin found out Hae-jun's whereabouts by following Youngmi and her daughter. They broke into Youngmi's house with the police and rescued Hae-jun. It was a good time to kill Mr. and Mrs. Youngmi, but Yoon Ki suddenly reconciled. Mi Yeon was puzzled. Yoon Ki found Mi Yeon and knelt in front of her. He told her that Jae Myung killed Mi Yeon's husband 30 years ago. At the same time, Silo discovered the secret of her fake daughter's birth. Mi Yeon finally realized the truth about her husband's death 30 years ago. She suffered the loss of her husband and son for 30 years. Only now did she realize that her son had been switched. Her husband was also killed, but Yoon Ki begged her to spare Jae Myung, because she was afraid that Hae-jun would find out that her adoptive father was her father's murderer. Hae-jun would be hurt. Mi Yeon's heart was filled with indescribable feelings. For the sake of her son, she decided to spare Jae Myung. Silo told Youngmi about the fake daughter. Youngmi doesn't understand how it can be fake after the genetic test. Silo told her that the fake daughter was paid to be here. She doesn't know who arranged it. Silo thought that the fake daughter had met Yoo-jin alone before. She thought that Yoo-jin arranged all this, and Yoo-jin thought it was suspicious. That day, the fake daughter contacted Yoo-jin and told her that a young secretary had asked her to pretend to be Youngmi's daughter. This made her suspect that her mother was hiding Youngmi's real daughter. Yoon Ki asked Jae Myung for a divorce. Because of the prenuptial agreement, Jae Myung had to leave the family. Unwillingly, he and Yoon Ki had a big fight. He talked about Hae-jun's real mother. Hae-jun overheard it from the door. Then Hae-jun realized the truth. He remembered that Mi Yeon had told him about his life. He knew that his mother hadn't had an easy life for 30 years. He went to Mi Yeon's company. After 30 years, mother and son finally recognized each other. Mother and son hugged each other and cried. Mi Yeon told her son that she had done too many wrong things by treating him as her enemy. That's why she wanted to hide it. Youngmi found her fake daughter. She was forced to tell him that she switched her hair. That's why the genetic test was consistent. She told Youngmi that a young secretary told her to do it. Youngmi thought that the only person who could do such a thing was Mi Yeon. She found Mi Yeon and confronted him. After learning that Yoo-jin is Mi Yeon's daughter, Youngmi asked why she would marry Hae-jun if she was her own daughter. Yoon Ki said on the spot that they are not siblings. When Youngmi returned home, she told Injun about it. Injun thought that Mi Yeon's husband died when her son was born. Mi Yeon doesn't have a daughter. Injun suspects that Yoo-jin is their daughter, but Youngmi didn't believe it, because she thinks Mi Yeon couldn't have raised her daughter to be that good. To confirm their suspicions, Youngmi sneaked into Yoo-jin's office and took away a toothbrush and a paper cup for a genetic test. Mi Yeon found out that Youngmi went for a genetic test. He sent someone to secretly transfer the test results, because it was the only way to stop Youngmi from suspecting Yoo-jin's identity. She could be happy with Yoo-jin. However, What she didn't expect was, Youngmi had gotten smart after the fake daughter incident. She did 2 separate tests on the toothbrush and the paper cup, and Mi Yeon only switched one of them. When In June got the report, the results of the 2 reports didn't match. To be on the safe side, they went to the testing center. The staff told them that both results were paternity. The other one is not theirs. Angrily, Youngmi went to Mi Yeon with the report. Mi Yeon admitted it without a trace. At this point, Youngmi was completely mad. Mi Yeon got down on her knees and begged Youngmi not to tell Yujin about this. If Yujin finds out about this, then she will definitely be in pain, and said she would leave silently. After learning that Hae-jun is going to marry Yujin, Sai-lo found Yujin and humiliated her. Seeing the 2 sisters killing each other like this, Youngmi also hesitated to tell Yujin the truth. The couple decided to keep it a secret for the sake of their daughter's happiness. They decided to keep the matter a secret. After searching for their daughter for 30 years, they finally found her, but the couple could only look on from afar. As a condition for keeping the secret, Mi Yeon and Youngmi made a deal. After the wedding, Mi Yeon had to leave. She could never appear in front of Yujin again. That day, Sai-lo, who was preparing to leave the country, found the previous test report in her mother's drawer. She realized that Yujin is her real sister. Sai-lo was devastated by the truth. However, she overheard her parents going to Yujin's wedding. This made Sai-lo even more furious. She decides to expose the whole thing herself. At this time, Yujin and Hae-jun are happily preparing for their wedding. She received a call from Sai-lo. Sai-lo asked Yujin to meet her. She told Yujin everything. Yujin couldn't believe it when she got the report, because she and Mi Yeon had been living together for 30 years. The 2 of them had built up a deep bond, but the person she called her mother for 30 years suddenly became her abductor. The man she loved so much became the son of a kidnapper. Yujin was devastated. Now that she knows the truth, Yujin doesn't know how to face it. She's disheartened and ready to fulfill her sister's destiny. On the wedding day, she asked her sister to take her place at the wedding. Everyone at the wedding was shocked to see that the bride was Sai-lo. Hae-jun rushed to find Yujin, but he realized that Yujin was nowhere to be found. Knowing that her daughter knew the truth, Mi Yeon sat down on the floor in a state of grief. At the same time, Hae-jun realized that her mother had abducted Yujin. Yujin went to the river to see her father for the last time. When he got home, Mi Yeon explained over and over again, but Yujin would never forgive her again, because in Yujin's opinion, Yujin thought that this woman was just using her as a tool for revenge. Then Youngmi came to Mi Yeon's house. In front of Mi Yeon, Yujin intentionally called out Youngmi's mom, so Yujin was taken to Youngmi's house. Youngmi's selfishness caused Mi Yeon to be separated from her mother for 30 years, and he was punished by having his daughter abducted for 30 years. Both mothers were miserable. At home, Youngmi was very upset. Sai-lo said that Yujin came to this house to get back at Mi Yeon. She didn't come back because she liked her mom, but Youngmi thinks it's important for her daughter to come back to her. That day, the younger brother asked Yujin if her mother had contacted her. Her mother hadn't come home for a day and a night. Yujin says it's none of her business. In her heart, she thought of Mi Yeon's words about leaving her. At that moment, Mi Yeon was walking into the cold water of the lake. Yujin came and saved her. Yujin fainted while they were fighting. Youngmi rushed to the hospital and kicked Mi Yeon out. Thinking about Mi Yeon's situation for the past 30 years, Yujin blamed his parents. If it wasn't for their greed, there wouldn't have been this 30-year feud. However, Youngmi is still arguing the seemingly calm Yujin, but she's planning her revenge. That day, she proposed a trip with Hae-jun. She invited Mi Yeon to the beach with her. Then she jumped into the sea with Hae-jun in front of Mi Yeon. It was too cruel for Mi Yeon. After a search and rescue, they were taken to the hospital. Youngmi and Yoon-ki rushed to the hospital. The 2 families blamed Mi Yeon for everything. The daughter they raised for 30 years became their enemy, and her own son was taken over by Yo-ki. It's obvious that Mi Yeon is the most pitiful one, but all she could do was say she was sorry over and over again. It wasn't long before they woke up. Mi Yeon wanted to see her daughter, but Youngmi refused. When she returned home, Mi Yeon thought that it would be enough if her daughter woke up. She was ready to leave quietly. Yujin woke up but was found to have cirrhosis of the liver. He needed a liver transplant. Mr. and Mrs. Youngmi's tests showed no match. They found Sai-lo and hoped she could save her sister. Sai-lo told Mr. and Mrs. Youngmi that it had nothing to do with whether Yujin lived or died. Youngmi was disappointed to see her daughter like this. She blamed herself for not teaching her well. That's why she's being punished. When Yoon-ki found out that Hae-jun was going to do a test to save Yujin, she ran to Yujin's hospital room and made a scene. She told her not to hurt her son anymore. Heartbroken, Yujin thought of Mi Yeon. She staggered to Mi Yeon's house with her sick body. At that moment, Mi Yeon was about to leave. Yujin fainted in Mi Yeon's arms. When Mi Yeon found out that Yujin needed a liver transplant, she didn't hesitate to go for a checkup. When Yujin woke up, he hurriedly asked where Mi Yeon was. Youngmi lied and said that Mi Yeon had left on a plane. Yujin's eyes flashed with disappointment. Hae-jun and Mi Yeon's results came out. Both of them have the same test results and can be donated. The doctor's recommendation is to choose Hae-jun. After all, Hae-jun is younger and has fewer side effects. But Hae-jun is being watched by Yoon-ki. She would never let her son save the woman who led him to his death. In order to put Yujin's mind at ease, Youngmi lied and said her results were consistent. He could give her a liver transplant. So Youngmi and Yujin went into the operating room. Mi Yeon was right behind her. She thought that if she could save her daughter's life, she wouldn't regret dying. The operation was a success. Yujin is out of danger. Mi Yeon sacrificed her life to save her enemist daughter, but she suffered serious after effects from the surgery. But she could only see her daughter from a distance. Seeing her daughter safe and sound, Mi Yeon left tears of relief. After this incident, Yujin and Youngmi's relationship has eased up a lot. Yujin told her mom that she wanted to be with Haijun. She wants her mom to help her persuade Haijun's mother. Looking at her daughter who came back from the dead, Youngmi agreed to help her out. However, Silo overheard the conversation. Silo blames her mom for helping Yujin steal the man she loves. In order to get back at mom, Silo blurted out that it was Mi Yeon who did the liver transplant. Youngmi hurriedly explains that Mi Yeon asked to keep it a secret. Yujin rushed to the hospital. Mi Yeon gave her life for her daughter, but Yujin blamed her for keeping this from him. She said in the most vicious tone, "Instead of using your liver to live, let me die." Haijun comforted Yujin over and over again, hoping that she would accept it. At this time, Mi Yeon on the hospital bed is still thinking about her daughter. She thought that only by leaving as soon as possible, she could make Yujin's pain less painful. Mi Yeon is suffering from the after effects of the surgery. The doctor told her that she might not live for another year. When she heard the news, Mi Yeon ran out of the hospital alone, because she didn't want to involve anyone else. She was going to leave quietly. When Yujin was putting away her luggage, Yujin found an agreement signed by Mi Yeon and Youngmi. She realized that her parents had been forcing Mi Yeon to leave. Facing such greedy and selfish parents, Yujin was extremely disappointed. She decided to move out of the house. Youngmi cries and begs her daughter to stay. Silo tells her mother that she will leave if Yujin stays. Mi Yeon fainted on the side of the road due to her condition and was taken to the hospital. Yujin also learns from the doctor that Mi Yeon has only 1 year to live, but Mi Yeon refused to accept the treatment. Yujin threatened to die with her if she didn't receive treatment. Mi Yeon told Yujin to stop visiting her, so that she would accept the treatment, because she doesn't want her daughter to suffer anymore. Yujin also understood her mother's intentions. She went to Yoon Ki and asked her to let her be with Haijun, because it was Mi Yeon's last wish. When Inchul found out that Mi Yeon was dying, he went to Mi Yeon's bed and knelt down. His apology made Mi Yeon wait for 30 years. On the other hand, because Youngmi killed her newborn son, Yoon Ki refused to accept Yujin as her daughter-in-law. Mi Yeon begged Yoon Ki to accept her daughter for the sake of their happiness. Yoon Ki's condition was that Yujin and Youngmi break off their relationship. Only then would she accept her daughter-in-law. Finally, Yujin agreed. Yujin and Mi Yeon have broken their hearts. They hugged each other tightly. Yujin found Youngmi and called her mom for the last time. She told Youngmi not to come back to her, unable to cope with the shock. Youngmi drank all day long. She completely ignored her daughter, Silo. Silo couldn't stand her mother anymore. She told her all her grievances over the past 30 years. In the end, Silo was ready to leave. Youngmi had already lost a daughter. She doesn't want to lose Silo again. She ran out to chase Silo and got into an accident. The doctor told them, because of the traumatic brain injury, there may be symptoms of memory loss and dementia. When Yujin came to the hospital, Youngmi couldn't remember who she was. When Inchul told her it was their daughter, Youngmi mumbled that she only has one daughter, Silo. Seeing her mother like this, Yujin cried and left. When Youngmi saw Mi Yeon, she held her head in fear and said sorry over and over again. What everyone doesn't know is that Youngmi is only pretending to have amnesia. Maybe this is the best ending for her. In order to make up for the regret of the previous wedding, Mi Yeon prepared a simple wedding for Haijun and Silo. She couldn't overcome her illness and closed her eyes in front of her daughter. 2 years later, Haijun and Yujin had a baby of their own. Both families lived happily ever after, but Mi Yeon was missing. This is the end of the movie. If you're interested, please follow the channel. See you next time.